Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Southern Gateway Chorus live stream. My name is Zach Coleman,
And I am Joe Hunter,
and
and welcome.
I think we got a pretty good show going tonight. I'm excited about what we're going to talk about. Y'all might see something on screen. We'll talk about that a little later. Before we get into anything, Joe, what you thinking about, bud?
I'm thinking about it's the end of summer. I'm really kind of a little bit bummed about it. I've been over the last year, been spending more and more time outdoors, and walking, swimming, and the like. And the swimming part, while you can do it indoors, it just is so much more enjoyable outside.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
and so our pool's about to close like in 3 days, and I'm like counting the minutes in a negative way, like, please don't close.
Right.
You know.
I've also spent too much time outside this summer. I mean more time.
Well, I mean, it used to be with my barber shopping life being as busy as it was, and my work life being
Yeah,
as busy as it was before I got retired. I was about the palest man on earth for a
sure.
number, for a number of years. I never saw the sun.
Right.
It was always auditoriums or sitting in an office building or sitting staring at a screen.
Yep.
You know,
That's
so
sometimes how your life is, man.
right. So this part of it is nice, but I do realize that now that I've retired, I kind of live the life of a pampered housewife.
Okay.
I get to go to the pool, and when I'm not at the pool, I get to
Yeah.
exercise. When I'm not exercising, I can sit out on the deck.
There's a towel boy joke in there, but I'll let it slide.
You mean Raul? No, never mind. I won't.
Okay.
Not going there.
Sure. Oh boy. Yeah, I'm thinking about just good stuff, man. Things are going very well. It's been a very high tension, high stressful week, and just thank God we're at the end of it and things are going well.
That's good.
Whoever's out there, send a big one up to whoever you think is up there, because good stuff, man. That's where I am.
Well, without going into details, it's like here's the happy endings.
Amen.
And
Amen.
all throughout our barbershop world, we've been hearing, various stories of people, and a lot
Hmm.
of people on the mend.
Yep. And that's
And
that's so good
that's
to
what you
hear.
want to see. You want to
Exactly.
get people on the mend, right?
Well, let's take a quick second. Let's get into it, Joe. We
Okay.
have a guest on tonight. We've had him on before. You know him. You love him, I think. Well, please welcome back our good friend, Tom Gentry.
Hello, all.
Tom, it is great to have you back on the show. How you doing, man? How you been since the last time you were here?
Well, up and down like real life.
Sure.
Quartet has started doing gigs again, and practicing indoors without masks on because we're all vaccinated.
Good,
So,
good.
mostly been good, but it's up and down like real life.
Amen, my friend. Before we get too far into our topic of conversation for tonight, I want to point something out. You've probably all seen it over there in the chat. Make sure you hop in there. We will be reading chat through the whole show. We have a poll going. Just because why not? We figured out we could do that today. So, real quick, when you've got the chance, we need to know, we want to hear from you. Who's got the best hair on the stream today? Me, Joe, or Tom? And yeah, it probably should be an easy one, but we'll see what happens.
Well, the question is who. Well, if the question was who has hair, that would be one.
Okay, thanks. You're so
But you
mean.
you guys could borrow some from my mustache. But
Well,
that's
see,
okay.
he's got some stash and I've got some stubble there, so
Yeah, you got the stubble. That's right.
we'll see where this ends up.
Tom's got the much more dignified mustache
I
than
think
me.
it looks great, honestly.
Well,
Yeah.
I've had it since age 19,
Oh, jeez.
and it looked so crappy. Then a friend, when it finally filled out about 6 months later, a friend says, I thought that was never going to look good, but it finally does.
Tom, when I
Now,
was
Now,
19, I had hair.
now regarding baldness, I do not consider myself bald.
No?
I'm just taller than my hair.
Okay.
what people don't know about Tom was when I first met Tom 40 some odd years ago,
Yeah.
he had hair down below his shoulders.
Oh,
He
yeah?
was a hippie. He was a hippie type. For
Oh,
those of you who
good.
might remember what hippies were. Tom was more of that hippie kind of guy. Didn't you also have kind of a goatee? It wasn't just a mustache. Didn't you sport a goatee for a while? A goat?
Yes, it was approximately, it made my early mustache stages look good. It was really, really scruffy and scraggly, and when I see pictures of it, I feel chagrined. But yes, I did have that.
Chagrined. Wow, big
That's a
word.
big word. That is a big word.
Yeah, but he was also, chagrined or not, he also had this very straight, long hair and stuff. I remember when I met him, and I said, "Oh wow."
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't context clues it. I want to get into our topic for today, but what the heck is chagrined? What does that mean?
It
Chagrined,
means displeased.
Displeased.
nonplussed.
Okay. Chagrined. I'm good. That's my word of the week.
Chagrined, yeah, it kind of displeased, kind of dismayed. Would be
Okay.
another one. Right?
Dismayed is good.
I'll take it. All right.
Dismayed, you had a rotten month, so
Yeah.
we can say, right?
All right. So, Joe, you're going to be a little better off on these conversations than I am. Tell everybody what we're talking about today.
So one of the things we were thinking about in terms of doing this, and by the way, Tom, thanks and welcome. The last time Tom was on, he was on with Kevin Keller, and it was kind of that point counterpoint as we discussed the music and music categories. But this one here, Tom and I have as judges traveled quite a bit, but Tom has done even more than I have. One of the things that people out there may or may not know is barbershop harmony is not just a U.S. and Canadian thing, but there are also affiliates all around the world. So we have affiliates in New Zealand, in Australia, in England, in Germany, in Holland, in Sweden, in Norway, I believe, in Spain. Correct me, Tom, if I've missed any there.
Well, South Africa,
South Africa,
and,
right? The tonsorial singers.
Finland and the UK.
I said England.
Did you? Okay. And there's a budding in Ireland,
Yeah.
and there's a budding group in Italy too. So barbershop is just all over the place.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. I'm moving to Ireland to join that chapter.
Yeah, you think they'd probably get a song in every now and then between pints.
Well, that might be why it's still budding.
That's right. Budding,
I can make those jokes.
Budding, can you spare a dime? Never mind. Anyway.
Come on, dude.
But Tom and I have traveled quite a bit, and one of the things, the affiliate organizations are very interesting. There are at various points in their lifespans, they go through their own sets of growing pains, their own challenges, and everything that goes with it. But we were fortunate enough, in many cases, to be the stateside, quote unquote, stateside judges who are coming in to judge, or at least help judge or co-judge that affiliate competition, and then coach and evaluate those groups.
Real quick, so I need to ask this question because I don't know the answer to this. Can you give like a 30 seconds, maybe? We don't need to spend a long time on it. What is the actual relationship between BHS and the affiliates? Is there is one a parent, or are they all kind of their own thing and we come together for international? How does that work?
Well, they're all their own thing,
okay.
And there are formal affiliation agreements that that connect them to us, and, for example, give them the opportunity to send their quartets and choruses to our international, as we certainly know from Swedish folks, if nobody else. We also have other organizations that would be, I think they're called Friends in Harmony, like Sweetheart Lines or Harmony Incorporated, or groups that aren't really affiliates, but there's a kinship there.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense.
But they are their own organizations. For quite a while.
But we've all agreed on a judging method and things like that, and we're all together.
Well, in most cases, they're using our method, and in fact, here's the part that allowed. I won't say it's a scam, but it certainly allowed us to travel quite a bit.
Okay.
Was that the society, the BHS, had said to the affiliates, you can hold contests And you can send quartets that qualify with a certain score as long as you have at least one set of US judges,
Okay. Interesting.
right? So when you have that, that means that's built-in travel opportunities,
Sure.
right? Now, so there are all kinds of wonderful stories. I'm sure Tom has a million of them, but the one that Tom and I probably hold nearest and dearest to our
Yeah, I was
hearts
hearing about this before the stream. Go for it.
is one from when we were on a tour. We were in both New Zealand and Australia, and we had completed the New Zealand end of it, and had gone down to Australia and were acting as judges for the AMS, the Association of Australian Barbershop Singers, right? And the contest was being held in Sydney, Darling Harbour, and it was a large national contest. Over 45 quartets, and I think at least 20 choruses were there. And Tom and I and Dale Comer, who's a singing judge, we comprised the stateside judges, and then there was also a set of Pan-Asian judges that joined us, because that's a lot of groups to be judging and also evaluating. A beautiful, beautiful venue. It was across the bay from the actual beautiful Sydney Opera House, but this was like I don't remember what the name of the place was, but it was this beautiful new facility, brand spanking new facility. And,
Okay. Okay.
So here we are on this 3-day event. And the one thing that does change from affiliate to affiliate
Sure.
is how they do their contest administration.
Sure.
What
Which
we
kind
call
of
CA.
is the case within the districts too, right? Like, isn't it the case that everyone's a little bit different, or?
Well, the districts might have certain rules, but the CAs, these
Oh, sure.
contest administrators,
Sure.
are just as much a judge as a singing judge, performance judge, or a music judge.
Mm-hmm. Great that you
And
forgot the one of the friend of ours we have on right now.
yeah, right. Right. Well, music judge. So the CAs really have control of the whole event,
Sure.
and they get trained at the same schools that we get trained at, to become our kind of judge. The CAs go through that same kind of training, but they're the guys you see at the contest dragging along the computers and printers, and they're the ones who are printing off score sheets and doing all that good stuff. But they really run things, and definitely an unsung and in some ways thankless job. Never brought home more than what happened to us in Australia. In Australia, it turned out that the Australian Association used one of their local guys. Let's just say his name. Let's just say David for now. And David came up to us right at the beginning of the weekend and said, I know that everybody else uses those programs that you guys did stateside, but I've improved those programs and I did my own.
As a programmer, I'm already not excited about where that's going.
Right. Well, and as someone who worked in that field, yeah, alarm bells went
Yeah.
off. But I'm in a foreign country and I'm a guest at this point. So okay,
Sure,
so I'm
sure.
going to trust.
Yeah.
So it starts with that. So it starts with he has his own program for this
Okay.
stuff. Okay, fine and dandy. Then when we got the score sheets, if anyone ever sees or has seen what a score sheet looks like,
Go ahead and explain it. Yeah.
we all have these pages that are printed, and there are different ones for different categories, and they've got some verbiage on it and a little, like a ruler across the top with scores.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives us space to write notes, but it also includes like the order of appearance and the name of the group.
Okay.
On
So I
top.
did not know that. So that's what the judges get when you get your sheets?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right.
Those are all pre-printed. And the other part of that is they're printed two-sided because everyone sings two songs. So one sheet, okay, pre-printed with the name of the group on top.
Mm-hmm.
Well, David decides to print single sheets.
Good.
So we doubled the paper. So now if you have 48 quartets, now we have 96 pieces of paper.
Good.
With
Good.
song 1 and song 2, and I believe the name was only printed on page 1.
Oh, good. Okay.
So let's start with that. That's
All
kind
right.
of that's kind of in prep for the whole
This is
thing.
going great so far.
Yeah, Tom, I don't know. Please add color anywhere you would like here.
Well, you're doing very well, Joe. Not surprisingly, uh, you all will appreciate soon our having twice as many sheets as usual. We were set up in this sort of press box kind of elevated room in the venue, and
Yeah, it had an escalator that looked as long as the ones that you see like in the London tubes. I mean, really long. This is a big, beautiful facility. So
Mhm.
that was either a press box or the maestro's suite, right? Something like
Yeah, something like that. So when they when they finally brought us the quartet sheets, twice as many as usual, they were messed up. They were hard to put in order, hard to figure out, and we had already evaled some groups before that. But at this point, they gave us the sheets for the groups we had not evaled and the groups we had evaled mixed together.
and it also included choruses. This is choruses and quartets at this point because they had so much event to deal with. This was like 10 pounds in a 5-pound bag between the number of competitors, with over 40 quartets and over 20 choruses. There was a lot to do. And so they had, the way they had set the schedule up, okay, we'll get all the evaluations done in this kind of 3 to 4 hour block on Saturday afternoon.
Right, yeah. So they brought us all these score sheets that some of them we needed and some of them we didn't need anymore. And so we asked them, can you please redo this and sort this so that, we can do our jobs more easily.
Well,
So
let me just
go ahead.
let me just add for people out there what CAs normally do for us at our contest is they're working all this stuff out in advance. So they'll say, Tom is seeing group number 1, 6, 14, 18, 22, and 28.
Sure.
And then
because we don't know the placement when you're planning all this. They plan it like ahead of the contest.
They plan it ahead, and then they populate that with the quartets and also the locations, and hand us a sheet of paper that says you are seeing this group and this group and this group. You're seeing this group in room 100,
Gotcha.
this group in room 120, this group in room 145,
Gotcha.
and then Tom's might have the same 3 groups but in different order because it's a team at different times.
Right, because
it's a ballet.
He's a music
it's
judge.
a ballet of organization, right?
Yeah, and for the other perspective of that, which I know you've both seen before, but they might not have, a quartet or a chorus will get their score sheet. It'll have the scores, what they got per song, per judge, per category, and then at the top it'll tell you what your eval schedule is. If you're going to go to 3 different judges, or for choruses, I think a lot of times they go to a place and the judges go to them.
Right.
That kind of thing. So that is quite a dance you got to do there.
Right. So this was the papers. These are the kind of papers that Tom was talking about.
Sure.
They weren't, so they were messed up. And so we said, these need separated and reorganized. So I don't know, maybe.
Well, here's
at least a half hour later, maybe an hour later, David's wife came back with all the sheets, and they were just as messed up as they had been, but in a different fashion somehow.
Yes. Now, to understand this, we're up at the end of this long escalator in this kind of separated, quarantined room. Our wives are down in among with all the quartets and choruses who are milling around in the lobby area, waiting to find out where they should be going. And David's wife, and David is somewhere down below in some room that we don't know, obviously toiling away at his computer, printing these sheets.
Okay.
And so his wife would come, when we're sitting here waiting,
right,
and, hearing more and more kind of this buzz from all these people, hundreds of people in this lobby, and our wives are kind of,
who am I going to see? Blah blah.
And our wives are like calling us saying, what are we doing? Why are we all just milling around down here?
Sure.
And then she would come up and say, okay, David's fixed it. here's your sheets. And we look at them and go, this is a duplicate of before. Oh, no problem. And she would take them and run away again for 45 minutes.
Good.
We're sitting there, having our
How long
Perrier
do evals
extraordinary.
usually last front to back for a judge? Because for a quartet, you have 15 minutes per judge, and then like a minute or two of getting between them. How long is the
Yes.
actual process for a judge? Like, how long does that last?
You
Couple
mean how many
hours?
hours?
Yeah.
Like 4 to 5 hours.
Oh, geez.
4
Did
to
not
5
know
hours.
that. Okay, I don't want to be a
So-
judge anymore.
Yeah. So now this happens 3 or 4 times.
Jeez.
And now it's like 2 hours in. And we don't know for sure, but we think there are some fist fights breaking out down below.
That's. I remember those being a little later when the ante was up. Joe, are we ready for this part where we go to the auditorium, or you want to say anything before that?
Well, no, what I want to say before that is, so after 3 or 4 times like this, and us sending this poor lady back to her husband, she comes up kind of looking a little timid. And she said, I have to tell you something.
Uh-oh.
And we're all going, yeah. She goes, David was very stressed, and he went home.
Good.
And we're yeah. So the kind of reaction you had, it was like our reaction was like, oh, okay.
So now what?
We have all these people down below.
Yeah, that David had an official assistant, but a man, a barbershopper, but not only did he not know anything, he didn't even suspect anything.
Oh.
So he was no help at all.
Good.
So finally we get a correct version, this would be one-sided instead of two-sided, of the sheets.
Sure.
They're not really organized.
But there's a pile. We each have a pile this time.
Yeah, and they're not alphabetical, they're not by appearance, they're not by placement, but there they are in the Manhattan phone book. So the mustering spot for the evals was in the auditorium where the contest sessions took place. So by the time we get there, the quartets are milling around very impatiently, but also just about when we got there, the choruses, so the quartets are a couple hours behind, and the choruses who were scheduled for that certain time when we got there start filtering into the room, ready for their evals to start, when, as I say, we have not done the quartets yet. And then the ante on this is upped by the fact that the tech crew is testing things out for the evening show. So
There's
the
this
lights would
big
go
gala,
off.
big gala evening show that's going to be put on in this like 2,000 seat auditorium.
Yeah, open to barbershoppers and the public. There's going to be a wonderful show, but the lights are going out, and we're trying to communicate with folks.
Sure.
And we have people going,
over
test,
the-
test, teach.
Oh, you're right. Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2.
Oh, jeez.
So, and nobody in that room to referee things.
Of course.
Yeah, like where do the choruses go? Who do we see when? And then the quartets, even worse, because at that point we just decide we're going out into we kind of go out into the crowd, into the sea of people, going presentation judge here, music judge here, singing judge here. Come follow me over this way if you want to get an eval. It's sort of like a fishmonger.
Yeah. Or like you're at the DMV.
Or the DMV, trying to deal with the DMV, but without the crack organization that you have at the DMV.
Oh, of course.
So we
Sorry.
deal with
That was
this
good.
for what felt like about 5 hours
Okay. Oh, jeez.
because we wanted to get to all the it was here. The organization has paid our way at some substantial expense to have us come.
Right.
And it's not just
Flying
to put a
in.
number.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just to put a number on a sheet, but to do these evaluations
Right.
and do all this, mini coaching with all these groups.
Yeah, I mean, again, from that other perspective, not that you guys don't have it, but from that other perspective, that's kind of what I'm looking for when I go to contests. If I win, cool. If I don't, tell me why I didn't and
Right.
how I can do that next time. Like, that's a huge thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So we do this for like what feels like forever,
Sure.
and it's just exhausting. I mean, it is exhausting work.
Yeah, and this is where what Joe was saying about fist fights almost breaking out. You know, it was really close to that. I remember finishing with one quartet fairly far into the process, and I go outside the room to usher the next quartet in there, and there are two of them. And someone from one quartet says, "No, we're going." No, we're going. We've been waiting here 45 minutes. Well, we've been waiting here 1 hour and 15 minutes, so we're going. And
It's like, hey mate, we're gonna go, and it's like, now that's a knife, one of those.
Oh, come on, Joe. You had to throw in the Australia. I mean, everything in Australia is trying to kill you, so.
Yeah, right. But it was like that, and so psychically for us, it was exhausting. Besides being physically exhausting.
Sure. Psychically?
Yeah. Well, so we
Emotionally?
finished, and Tom and I in particular, we think Dale kind of either collapsed or went back to his room. He was done.
Sure.
Tom and I, we said, "Hey, Tom, do you want to go to the show tonight?" And we looked at each other and went, "Nah." Even though it's going to be a great show, it's got the blenders and all this stuff on it.
Yeah, dude.
Can't face being in the hall and
Yeah.
hours of watching a show.
Yep.
Let's just go out and get something to eat, And so we said, let's go into Chinatown. There's a nice Chinatown area,
Sure.
not too far from where we were, right down in Darling Harbor in Sydney. So that means that we're going down. We go to collect all of our stuff from that beautiful suite, and we're coming down the escalator, this big, long escalator,
Sure.
as people are coming up for this evening's show. It's going to be looks like it's going to have a good crowd, right?
Sure.
And a lot of people excited to come up because there's this great show and they want to come and see the show. And who do we see going up the escalator but David?
Okay.
He's obviously not as stressed now, right? And Tom can swear to you, these escalators were about 3 to 4 feet apart.
Yeah.
And my timing was I just missed him.
Oh god.
And then he was gone.
Well, Joe, I guess in that sort of situation, you could say,
What are you gonna say?
that escalated quickly. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you. I'll be here for a little bit longer.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tip your waitress. She's been great. Give her a hand, honestly. She's been
Try
great.
the fish.
Hey, I'm proud of it. Whatever. And
So-
yes, I've had that joke planned since
Awesome.
before the stream.
Awesome. So here's what that taught us more than anything. Tom and I
for it.
sat, we were sat and kind of commiserated about it. And what it did was it just hammered home the incredible value add that the contest administrators provide and just what unsung heroes they are. And I never forget at any contest to start every weekend by thanking them for what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little anecdote about that is when the current judging system was forming, there was a question whether the contest administrators would be considered judges or not, or whether
Okay.
they'd just be contest administrators.
Okay.
And without naming any names, the head man said to me, I'm thinking about the only ones who are judges are the scoring judges, and the contest administrators are contest administrators.
Okay.
What do you think? And I said, I don't think that's a good plan.
Okay.
The contest administrators work hard, they're valued members of the team, and we need to refer to them. They need to be fully included as judges. And he said,
Got it.
oh, yeah, I guess you're right. So I'm glad I was at the right place in the right time.
So it's a communication thing. It's not so much that they're not the ones giving the scores, but if they're not involved in the score giving process, how are they going to know how to handle the rest of it? Something like that?
Well, in fact, it's more than that. They run the weekend.
Sure.
They're in charge. I mean, they're in charge.
Weekend or week, depending on which contest
Yes.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Gotcha. All right. Well, that makes sense.
You
Well,
know, oh, and by the way, you know,
yeah.
there's all little details. Like, remember when we talked about these sheets? Just imagine now when you don't know the names of the groups
Oh
and you're
God.
asking them, and they have Australian accents, and you know,
Good.
it's like, and who are you? Oh, we're the Happy Harmonizers. You know, Happy Harmon. Yeah, and now you're having to ripple through 200 sheets
The
to
hippie
look for that one
harmonizers.
that might say Happy Harmonizer on it, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know, or banana blenders. You know, it was
Banana Are you making these up or are those actual names?
banana blenders is real. Happy Harmonizers isn't.
Oh, okay. Just you remembered banana blenders and decided to make up the alliteration.
Yeah, there you
I'll
go.
take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Alliteration works. But we spent a lot of this episode talking about this one event that happened, but I mean, thank God for those affiliates. Like we have. It's one of those things where it's like the competition just makes you better, right? And we're
Yes.
spreading what we do, not just in the area where we are, but the everywhere area, all over
Well,
the
I
world.
mean,
We've had a couple
there's
champs even.
yes, a couple of champs, and there's a certain energy, and there's a you know
Hmm.
there's strength and diversity.
Definitely,
There's a lot of strength and diversity, and having
definitely,
these different groups and the different countries involved brings a lot to the table.
100%.
You know, we think of the Swedes, we also think of New Zealand. We've had champs from both.
Correct.
Mhm.
And I don't know, did we go through the list of them? I mean, there's a lot. Yes, yeah. In the beginning, there's a lot of them, and that's awesome
Well,
to hear.
we've had the musical Island Boys,
Yep.
who are one of my favorite quartets of all time,
Oh yeah.
and I was in New Zealand when they first started as high schoolers.
Wow. Really?
Hmm.
You know,
And they won
and
like 2 years after that, right?
well, it felt
Oh,
no, it took them a little while, but yeah, I
No,
mean,
wait. Correct my math. Were they collegiate champs back when it
I
was
think
collegiate?
so.
Yeah, I
yeah,
think they got a one of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sick.
They went on to win the collegiate the year after we saw them in New Zealand,
Nice. Oh
and
wow. Okay. Cool.
so there were them, and they're just a not only wonderful quartet, just wonderful entertaining group.
Oh yeah.
Um, then of course the Ringmasters
Yes.
from Sweden,
Yep.
maybe one of the technically most impressive and incredible musicians.
That is something the Ringmasters have going for them. They are clean.
Oh my goodness.
And I mean, with all the stuff they've got going on too, that's clean, man. It's real
And
good.
they were always clean, and then when they
Oh, lost you for a second.
actually found more of the vision and the music that really, powered it,
Yeah,
as we've had in many of our discussions over the last number of weeks,
sure.
Zach, it's when they made the final breakthrough. They always had the chops.
Yep.
And there are a
It
number
was
of
just
other
how you're
groups.
gonna do it. Yeah.
There are a number of other groups in Sweden that have the chops. 08 Chorus
Oh yeah, Zero Eight's
is
awesome.
is spectacular
Oh yeah,
chorus
dude.
from Sweden. The vocal effects from New Zealand
Sure.
are again one of my favorite choruses because they do such
Hmm.
wonderful, entertaining performances.
And remind me, at least in the last contest, where have they been? Where have those two courses been placing? They're doing pretty well, right?
well,
Well, yeah.
08 was
Third,
third, I think.
Third, yeah.
they were third.
Okay.
Vocal effects was like seventh. I think vocal effects has topped out, I think, at 5 or 6.
Awesome.
I'm not sure they've made the medals.
They've been sixth, right? I think they've been sixth.
That could be. Hmm.
All right, somebody
Yeah,
check our
just-
math on that. We'll see it at some point.
Yeah,
But they've also won my category.
yeah, pretty wonderful. Just I want to combine a couple threads here. New Zealand with the weekend that Joe and Dale and I judged in Australia and New Zealand. So after Australia, we flew over. No, New Zealand was first, wasn't
New
it?
Zealand was first.
So New Zealand was first, and when we got off the plane in Auckland, let's see, was that Auckland or was it down in the south?
No, that was
No, I guess it
no,
was.
that was
I
up
guess-
north. Yeah, that was up north because the second time we did it, Tom, was Dunedin. It was down south.
Okay, so we get off the plane. Been on 2 or 4 planes, international flights, really long, and they said to us, "Okay, it's time to get fitted for your kilts."
Oh, that's Dunedin. That's Dunedin.
All right.
Now, at that time, just for Zach and everybody else, that's 150 or more pounds ago for me, more.
Sure.
So you can imagine, they looked at me and they said, well, maybe not for you.
That's okay,
But
Joe. If things go the way that
but
they're
but
currently going, my
Joe
girlfriend's
was
gonna make me
looking
wear a
good.
kilt.
He
They gave
had
me a plaid
white
book.
shirt, a plaid, just with the right kind of tartan of that city,
Bow tie.
bow tie, and a white shirt and black pants,
Sure.
looking very dapper. So we're getting fitted with the kilts, and I was amazed by the symbolism of it.
Okay.
Like this pouch means this, and it goes at this angle, and this
Oh.
seam has to line up with this seam due to this traditional fact, and so on. So
It's a
we're
good thing you took
getting
notes.
so we're fitted for our kilts,
Sure.
and then I forget if it was that night or the next night. Anyhow, opening night of the convention, the dignitaries had on kilts,
Sure.
and that included the guest quartet, which was the wonderful Vocal Spectrum.
Oh yeah.
So we're sitting up on this stage, on this elevated stage, and I don't know the answer to what does a Scotsman have under his kilt, but I did not go commando myself. I promise you that.
However, we certainly got a pretty interesting view of Tim Warwick in particular. Now, that was Tim when he was a little more beefy also.
Good Lord. Are we gonna have to call it so we don't have to put a censor on this episode?
Oh no, we're about to go a little sideways, which the opening address was by the mayor of Dunedin, who
Okay.
was a Chinese New Zealander named Peter.
Was it Wang? I just remember. It was definitely Asian.
Oh, darn! I didn't think I'd ever forget. Anyhow, so Peter Wong, and he had studied voice.
Okay.
So in a very operatic kind of voice, he started his welcome. Welcome to Dunedin, the city of the Scots. Da, 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 da. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful. And at some point in the proceedings, naturally, some of the interlocutor says, let's hear from Vocal Spectrum. And I was thinking, oh, open with this song. You have to do it. And sure enough, do you hear the beat way down the street? And they started South Rampart Street Parade, which is wonderful and has 11 key changes. And at the end of it, Tim has this 30 or 45-second hanger, Tim Warwick.
What a
Yep.
surprise. What a surprise.
So when they got to the tag,
Yeah.
and I'm watching the quartet some, but I'm looking around, and the mayor is just absolutely transfixed.
Oh, sure.
He loved it, and I thought, you ain't heard nothing yet. Wait till you hear the hanger by Timmy on the tag.
Yeah.
So when the tag hits, I leave the quartet, just look over at the mayor, and he's going, yeah. You're just beautiful.
Those are the responses I feel like he lives for when he does stuff like that.
Yes.
It's kind of like how most of the time I live for eye rolls.
Yes. And I live for the booze. Kisses.
The booze?
Would you spell that?
I mean,
No.
I could pour you a drink if you're looking for one.
It's not the booing. No, booing.
Oh,
like,
booing.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's almost the same. It's an even more emphatic eye roll.
Gotcha. All right.
Anyway,
well,
so those are just a soup song of our story. Some of our stories. There's lots of them out there.
sure.
But we figured this was one that needed to be told again.
I
because,
gotcha.
among other things, I still bear the scars, and telling the story helps with the healing.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly, Joe. And we're here for you, bud. We're right here for you. All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and call that a show real quick. But before we do, let's check out the results of our poll.
Okay.
With 50% of the vote, and I'm surprised that it's that low. our winner of this poll, Joe Hunter, is the best hero of the stream tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody give a big hand.
Yes, my people.
Fix fake news.
I mean, I don't know how much of a fix. I feel like the fix is the fact that he didn't get like 90%. But we'll
It's no reflection on you guys. How about that?
No, I think the reflection is off of our heads. Yeah, thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you. Thank you.
God. All right. Well, Tom, it was awesome having you on the show tonight. Anything you want to close with?
It was fun. I wrote down a list of other stories here. If you have another international session, call me again. But thanks for inviting me.
We will do another. Yeah, we could do another one at some point. Absolutely. Why not?
Sounds
It's been
good.
fun. Thanks.
Sounds good to me. All right. Well, until next week, my name is Zach Coleman.
And I'm Joe Hunter.
And on behalf of the Southern Gateway Chorus, have a fantastic week.
And have a wonderful Labor Day. Bye-bye.